Welcome back to AFTV. Is Noni Madueke the answer to all our problems? That's what we're going to talk about. You're right there, Laurie.
I've just lost the will to live.
We've discussed it a little bit, Laurie and I, on DR. We were live doing transfer news with AGT. And now we're here with Kenya. We're here with Turkish. Now look, before you all go crazy in the comments, the report exactly says that Noni Madueke, this comes from Matt Law at The Telegraph, is on the radar of a host of clubs this summer, including Arsenal. Arsenal understood to have made checks on a number of different players, which makes it hard to gauge the strength of their interest in Madueke and whether they will pursue him. We thought Kepa Arrizabalaga was our one Chelsea signing of the summer, but it could be two. We might be outdoing ourselves. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Thomas Partey, because all the news was coming out this morning that it doesn't look like he's going to sign a new contract. So what do Arsenal do? Lucien Aguemé has been linked, the 23-year-old French midfielder from Sevilla. And there are other ways Arsenal can address midfield too. So lots to go into. Who wants to start on Madueke and everything around that? Come on, Kenya, my co-host. Go on, kick things off. Firstly, it's important to remember, Arsenal will probably have an extensive list of 20, 30 players, right?
Yeah.
So he might be 28th on that list. But with the whole Mbemo links, suppose you want to add someone who can play back up to Saka, could this be feeding into that? Could there really be something in this?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. When you talk about lists, he shouldn't even be on the list. That's such an idiot thing. Like, when I saw that, I'm like, it's not something that we should take seriously at the moment. But I just think, is that what you look at? Like, do you know, I was just a bit more like, why are we seeing this? And I think there's better options maybe for a backup to Saka, and they've tried already Ethan on right wing. So I'm a bit confused about the whole Madueke links. I mean, I guess we can say that they're not very serious, and it's more of like, oh, they kind of need a winger, so this is someone they might consider. But nah, that shouldn't be a nah.
I said on DR with you, Laurie, that there's certain journalists that they get hold of particular information at a particular time. My brain goes, why? Why now? Why have you said this? I thought that with Kepa recently, lo and behold, we're signing him. And I thought that, no, I didn't think this, but I learned this with the Kai Havertz saga. I remember we were linked to it, we don't really solve anything. What do you mean? But it was David Ornstein, it was Matt Law, it was Alex Goldberg, the Chelsea content creator, and it happened quite quickly. Now, to be fair, David Ornstein hasn't said anything on Noni Madueke, but Matt Law, again, and he's picking his words carefully. He's saying he's just one of the players, Arsenal, one of the clubs have maybe looked at him. They need a winger, sure. But I just kind of wonder, why has this got out there? He's untouchable, he's gettable. I just wonder why it's made its way to the media.
I think maybe on a Chelsea perspective, obviously they're trying to get Gittins, so they're probably looking at it like, we also
someone has to go.
Yeah, we can make profit off of Madueke, he can play on either side as well. He can play on the left, he can play on the right. So they're probably thinking like, he's a young, excitable player. Like, you know, we could sell him, maybe. Like, that's just from a Chelsea perspective.
Putting him out there in the media.
They have a lot of players that they might just want to offload now. Especially now they're in the Champions League. They're probably looking at Pedro Neto and Madueke like, you're not really good enough to play in the Champions League and take us quite far in it.
And Arsenal will generate clicks and engagement via the articles.
Exactly.
Even if Arsenal's interest has gone as far as they've scouted him twice, they probably show Arsenal have shown an interest, and then boom, this can all blow up a little bit, as it has here in this conversation. Turkish, I'll come over to you, man. I can't imagine the transfer you're particularly excited about. Do you think there's much in it?
Well, I hope not. Probably not. Really, it doesn't make sense, does it? Even the Mbemo link don't make sense, and I like him. Madueke is not a bad player, but it's not the player. It's not of the quality needed, and it's not the position we need. So I don't even know where this has come about. We've got Saka and Ranieri in that position. That's probably the position I look at and think, all right, aside from defensively, that's the position we're good in, right wing.
Totally.
So I don't know where this has come from, but it needs to go back there.
Real.
What if, we look back at what Ornstein said not long ago when we were looking at Leroy Sané, when we were talking about Mbemo. The feeling was that actually Arsenal are looking for a third attacker maybe as well that isn't quite as expensive, that can do a job. Would you see that differently? Let's say if Arsenal got a striker and left winger and then Madueke was the £40 million extra. I don't know why that would make sense for him, but could that be what Arsenal are trying to do?
Like, I just see it as Leroy Sané is a seasoned winner. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's played on a big. He's older as well. He's more experienced. Makes sense. And Mbeumo, he's Premier League proven. I guess you can say that about Madueke, but not to the level of an Mbeumo who's actually just gone like a season scoring 20 goals. And he's just done that in the league. Imagine what he'd do in the Champions League, for example. That's different because they're a different ilk of player. Madueke is like someone, like I say, he's another version of a Martinelli. We can't sit here and cry about Martinelli and try and get someone a similar profile to him. Just don't get it.
Laurie?
Yeah, I mean,
how's it aged?
at first hearing it, I was very underwhelmed. I mean, listen.
And now I love him.
No.
Now I think he's the answer.
I mean, to be fair, Madueke is a decent player, like Turkish said. He has had a decent season. He's broke into the England team. He is a good player, right? However, if you're Arsenal and you're looking to try and win major honours, Madueke doesn't register on that radar for me. Is it a tacit admission from the club that the Rodrigo thing has gone cold? That's what it kind of struck me as.
Could be. Did you think that's what it is?
I think there could
actually
be.
Nico Williams going to Barcelona.
Yeah.
Rodrigo has made it quite clear he wants to stay at Real Madrid. It feels at the moment anyway.
So now Arsenal are scratching around. Oh, Madueke's had a good season. I wonder if that would work. That's
So,
what it kind of.
11 goals and 5 assists in 42 appearances for a club that got Champions League football, for a club that won the Conference League.
Half of those were against Wolves.
He only played 5 Conference.
My God.
It's true.
No, it's true.
You're actually wrong.
It's actually true.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, it's not like his numbers are sensational for a team that
Yeah.
were pretty good last season.
I also get the impression with Madueke, and you guys will no doubt have your own opinions, but he flatters to deceive at times. I've watched him a few times play for Chelsea, gets a ball, goes down the wing, step over, and then I'm waiting for the lethal finish or the lethal cross, and it doesn't quite happen.
I preferred him on the left.
Yeah, he's better on left.
I thought on the left he looked better, but I'm just having a look. Yeah, he played 32 games as right winger, 6 on the left, but I think all 6 came literally in probably their last 6
End of the
games.
season.
Yeah.
End
Be
of
the
the
kind
season.
of guy that's like a squad player type.
Yeah.
If you're looking to win titles, nah.
I'm just like, we do need squad players, but maybe not in those positions. We need to go and get the guy in that position.
Exactly.
So I'm like, if you're saying to me that you're looking at Madueke to be the guy, what is that? That's why I was like, what is this? Like we said before, it's a bit of a loose article.
Yeah, who's Matt Law?
Matt Law, to be fair, is
It's
one of
Telegraph,
the
yeah.
lead journalists at the Telegraph and covers
Yeah.
Chelsea extensively.
When they say
Like, he's
number
pretty
of
well
clubs,
versed in-
James,
Yeah.
who are the other
Umbrella.
clubs? Leeds, Burnley? I mean, teams that are coming up.
Nah, you're right.
No, I mean, I'm being a bit disingenuous now, but seriously, who are these other clubs?
Yeah, I don't know. To be
I love the
honest.
people in the comments, like Viggs is saying, Madueke is not happening, stop worrying, it's just smoke, stop believing everything. But I always have to remind people, we're not,
They did the same.
when we
with
say we're
Kai.
worrying, I promise no one's leaving this studio going, oh
Yeah,
no.
I'm not saying we're going to sign
Oh
him.
god, like no one's doing that, right?
Yeah.
We're having a conversation because this is our live weekly transfer show, and this is the news that's just come out. No one is overly worrying about it. If we sign him, we're going to have some thoughts in terms of like stop believing everything. People said that about Kai Havertz. People said that about Calafiori. People I think said that about Kepa 2 weeks ago. Like these things that there often is no smoke without fire. Even the worst of rumours that you go, why even talking about it? Arsenal might well have spoken to the agent just to gauge the terms, then moved on quite quickly. And then, Chinese whispers happens and it kind of all blows up. So I just think, there could be something in this. We shouldn't.
Okay, let me look
It's a
at
very
it.
Arsenal signing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
it is.
And
Very Arsenal thing to
It
do.
is.
the other thing I'm forced to ask myself is, if he was that good, if Chelsea believed in him that highly, why were they prepared to let him go to Arsenal?
That's
Consider
true,
that.
but considering what Chelsea's been like in the last couple of years, where they're just like they've become a club where they're like, we might have a good player, but if we can make a really good profit on him, we're fine to let him go because they'll happily just buy somebody else. They almost seem, I'd say, other than like maybe 3 players in their squad,
can't
they
be
see
true,
everyone
man.
else as very replaceable.
That's why I'm not even talking much, because it can't be true. It can't be.
Okay, well,
I think
Because
it-
listen, if I'm Kroenke and Arteta's come to me and said I want Madueke, I'm sacking him. And if I'm Arteta and Kroenke's come to me and said, here's Madueke, I'm leaving. So that's it can't be true.
Like I said,
Yeah, I
James,
think
to
Either
me,
way, someone should bounce. If this is true, someone needs to bounce somewhere. because it can't be true. I'm not having it. That's why I'm not going to talk much.
Do you think like me though? Do you thinking that the mere fact that this is coming out, or Arsenal is said to be linked with him, suggests to me that the Rodrigo, we know Nico Williams, that's gone, right?
Yeah.
I've been saying for a while now, I don't think Rodrigo wants to leave Spain. Sorry, Madrid. Yeah. Well, it is Spain, yeah. But so to me, this so-called interest in Madueke, if true, to me just cements what I thought to be the case in that we've got no chance of getting Rodrigo, and they're now looking around for options.
But okay, right. Look, I have no idea what's going on, and it's so hard to know with Arsenal. But what I'd say is, I think Rodrigo is almost seen as like a totally separate deal in itself. Like, if Arsenal can get Rodrigo, the 80 million will be there. I think that's a little bit the case, because they're not going to know for a while. He started for Real Madrid the other night, but they played him on the touchline. Trent was inverting, so he was playing, a very touchline defensive role, covering supposedly. Every kind of credible journalist around Real Madrid, the Athletic, have said that that's literally what he doesn't want to be doing. He doesn't want to be doing sort of shifts to cover for a Trent. He wants to be on the inside from the left wing. He wants to be maybe more the main man. So that might take a little bit of time. There's reports he's going to have conversation with Xabi Alonso throughout the Club World Cup. It might take another month to know if he's actually even available. And then the likes of Ben Jacobs and others are coming saying Real Madrid actually have a price for him. 90 million euros, they would do the deal. What's that, 77 million? So I think with Rodrigo, it's a case of we just have to wait and see. And if it becomes that Arsenal can do, they'll do it. But so Madueke and Bemo, others, that things that Bemo would have cost so much more. But I think with those players, they're looking at them as, well, we get some cover for Saka finally, which we need to do for years.
Yeah.
And they can play on the left, and they're just an opportunity. By the way, I don't like it. I'm just trying to explain what I think might be happening.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it's from a squad depth point of view, like the likes of Fabio Vieira, Reece Nelson, they'll probably be leaving as well. Like, they might just be looking at, we actually do need squad depth there. So maybe just just putting it out there, they might see Madueke as an option for that, but I don't really think it's very serious. It's more of just we've looked at him and probably thought, oh yeah, he looks a bit nice. That's it.
Yeah. Laurie, just to cut you, David Ornstein 2 minutes ago, nothing to do with Arsenal, don't panic. I said that Bayer Leverkusen are close to agreement. Liverpool to sign Jarrell Quansah. No formal bid, but talks progressing well towards a deal being done for north of 40 million euros. So we were upstairs talking about how much they could get 33 million pounds or so for him. I mean, why can Arsenal never do this business?
You're telling me you can
Kiwior
sell
should go for more than Quansah.
Yeah, he should.
Why are we so bad at this?
Kiwior plays for Poland. I think he scored in the last break.
He's an international.
He's a Polish international, and he's got more. He's played in Italy and he's played in England.
And he's played very recently.
Yeah, and he's played at a high level.
For some reason, English players do seem to have that tax on them. And I would say, and I'm not saying that I'm justifying, I'm just saying that this might be, Quansah is appreciably younger than Kiwior, so that could be...
Is
Actually, he is.
22 years old, Quansah. What's Kiwior, 24, 25?
Yeah, maybe 25.
It shouldn't make that big a difference. I hear what you're saying. He is younger.
I don't want to sell Kiwior anyway. It's better he stays.
No, I agree,
wouldn't sell him either.
But why... Okay, but Zinchenko, do you think Quansah's a better footballer than Zinchenko? By the way, he might be.
It's hard to say though, because they're a different position.
I totally agree, but there is such a stark contrast between what we're supposedly looking to get for Zinchenko to what Liverpool are going to get. Vandenberg went for 27 million. Brewster went for 27 million, but albeit years ago. Never mind, let me not rant.
I mean, we robbed Palace last year.
True.
We absolutely robbed them.
Did we?
They won.
True. I actually agree with that.
They got an FA Cup out of it.
Yeah,
it's like a robbery.
Kiwior is 25
from the season, but we robbed them in the summer.
Is that a robbery?
35 M's for Nketiah. Yeah, that's a...
But he brought the FA Cup.
They're going to make a Netflix doc about that one in a few years.
You know what it is? He just wanted an excuse to bring out Eddie's name. That's what it is.
I'm just saying that's one of the robberies we've managed to pull off, innit? It's been rare.
What about Balogun?
Yeah, true.
Balogun's,
Do you know what? You're right. That's fair. That's a fair.
And Emil Smith Rowe, really, considering that he didn't really play a lot.
What was Emil in the end?
34.
I actually think that's aging quite well for us.
Yeah,
that was alright.
He's not even had that great of a season at Fulham. He started well.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, fine. I could play a little bit less, but Liverpool are wizards with all this stuff. Fair play to them. Anyway, back to Madueke then. Do we think this is actually... I'm not even going to ask whether you think we're going to sign him. Do you guys think there's actually something to this and that this will pick up, or is this just a bit of a flash in the pan moment?
I think there's something to it.
You think there's something to it, Laurie?
I think it's a flash in the pan, personally.
You hope.
Yeah, You think it's just a?
I don't care for Matt Law.
I think. I think there might be something to it.
I think unfortunately there might be something to it.
You man just be ready to flip then, innit? That's it.
I'm dead.
Huh?
You man just be ready to flip if it does happen.
Yeah.
That's all.
No, but I mean, as I said before, I think it might have something to do with the fact that we're struggling to get our targets in that position. So now the club.
I haven't seen one bid made.
Huh?
I haven't seen one bid made to suggest that.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that there's a bid. They said that
no, but make
interest.
a bid for these players. Make a bid for Rodrigo. Make a bid when the Club World Cup finished. Make a bid for Sesko or Gyökeres. Make these bids and let's find out. Because apparently Williams, we was waiting for him, right? Mm-hmm. Apparently his wage demands were out of control, right? Well, he's going to Barca for his release clause, and his wages are not out of control.
Do we know that final amount?
What?
The salary he'll be on?
I think they said €7 million a year.
Yeah, but I think that's net. So I think
net,
gross, it probably works out to 280.
Yeah.
Well,
what I also heard though about that deal is that
but I understand what you're saying in terms of that, but I still think that's very high for someone who's, as I say, you've only ever played for Bilbao. We've other than the Euros fantastic, but we've not seen you in the Champions League or any other competitions to be like, And I also watched him against Man United, and I was just like, really? Like,
what I would say about that deal as well is that it's been said with some authority that the Spanish Football Federation will do their absolute best to try and help players stay in the Spanish league. So by that I mean that if there are certain machinations behind the scenes with money and stuff to ensure that he stays, apparently they're on the record as saying they will do everything within their power to.
All I'm referencing with him, I don't care that we're not getting him like that. Kvaratskhelia was the one for me, and Rodrigo's the next one. But what I'm saying is, bid so we know.
Yeah,
so
but who have they bid for?
Exactly.
That's the point, isn't it?
Who have they bid for? Bid. Let's find out. Surely year 6, phase 6, you fucking know who you need. Bid. And what are you man waiting for? We're always waiting for even an AFCON or a Euros or a Club World Cup. It's always us waiting around. I get it with Rodrigo. Let's see how that pans out. Cool, but we need 4 or 5 players. So get 2-3 of them done like Liverpool have. They've just won the league and just quickly swept up a few transfers. All they got to do is probably 1, max 2 more pieces. And we're still, what are we doing?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well,
and then we give the benefit of that about conversation. Conversations should take a couple of days to know what it really is. And from there you move.
I said that a couple of weeks ago on this exact same show, and my brother looked at me and said, I'm panicking. Remember that, James?
I remember.
He said, oh, you're panicking? Oh, don't you know that behind the scenes these I said, okay.
To be fair though, we were just like 4 days in at that point, right?
Yeah, I know, but I'm
know what I
saying
mean?
that I have registered the same concerns that Turkish has.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I'm not concerned, but I just feel like I'm not saying that we shouldn't bid for people, but you also shouldn't just willy-nilly bid, because you also reveal your hand.
Year 6, Kenya.
No, but you also reveal your hand.
I don't care. It's about time because fucking hiding their hands hasn't worked for years.
I'm not saying that we should do that.
Yeah, but fucking reveal it then. Let's see how it goes.
I'm not saying that we should do that.
Because they've been hiding
I'm saying we
bullshit
should
for
be
years.
a bit more strategic in our approach, but I'm not.
Sometimes
I'm not
it can
saying
be
that we
too
should just-
strategic.
Yeah, I'm not saying that
Yeah.
we should just sit back and not do anything. I say we should be a bit more thought out about it. But yeah, we need to be
Because
a bit more proactive.
my take on it a couple of weeks ago when we had this conversation, James will attest to this, is I was saying, look, by now you should have your targets, you should know exactly what you want, go for it. And I was told by Robbie that, yeah, but you know, that's too obvious. Sometimes you need to fall back, wait for negotiations to play out, then strategically make your move. Which, listen, to be fair, I see where that's going, but also sometimes in life, if you desire something, you make it known that you want. A bit like what we did with Declan Rice. We went after we pursued him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we got him.
But
sometimes that's what you got to do.
Even that wasn't done straight away. That was done in like middle of July. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is we was boom. Like right now, we're still guessing whether it's Sesko or Gyökeres.
Yeah.
We think it's Sesko, but this has been going back and forth now for weeks.
Yeah.
We're, at least with Declan Rice and Caicedo, everybody knew that it was Declan Rice that we was going to go for, and we got him.
That's fair, but we didn't even put a bid straight in a way. We spent about a year having to negotiate terms, and I'm not saying, look, we should do that now. We don't have that time, But I'm not saying that all those things don't. Unfortunately, the market's different now. You don't just put out money. You actually have to spend time talking to players and say, right, we want to give you this. Because nowadays, players and their agents are like, well, we're hearing today that Sesko might be saying, well, I want a release clause. Like, that's madness. Do you know what I mean? You get that. You get that now. But that's what you get from players now. You get players now saying, "I want this amount a week. I want these bonuses." Look at Mo Salah with Liverpool.
Release clause. He was supposed to be the man that's going to be the ceiling. Like, he's going to be there for X amount of years.
The whole year at Liverpool, he was there in every press conference saying the club's not said anything to me yet. It took them to like the last weeks to actually sort it out. So it takes time.
Well, K-Praj says that if you sell Havertz, everything else will fall into place. That's what he wants to see.
Sell?
Yeah.
What did you say?
Yeah, if we sell Havertz, everything else falls into place, he says. Fizzy says that the market works differently now. Bids come last.
Yeah, I agree with that.
2,000 of you watching, man. Hit the like button if you're enjoying the stream. We've given our thoughts on ultimately what we think's going on with Madueke. 2 here. Kenya and Turkish thinking it's just a flash in the pan moment, but me and you, Laurie, a little bit more.
Unfortunately, I think there could be a little bit more to it than that. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Hope you're wrong. No offence.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. The other big news out today, which we discussed in the intro, was Thomas Partey potentially leaving, and this has been a real seesaw because we literally went the whole campaign thinking Partey and Jorginho going.
Yeah.
We just kind of accepted that.
Yeah.
With a month to go, David Ornstein says, well, Arsenal actually are offering him a new contract. They want to do a year. They're not quite there, but the expectation that he would probably stay. And this has gone on so long, almost to the point of us just kind of going, well, he will stay because that's just the direction we heard us all going in.
Yeah.
Yesterday there was some murmurs, Fenerbahce linked or whatever, and then today Fabrizio Romano came out and fully said the deal is not advancing. They're not getting anywhere. Ghana SoccerNet had an article about it. There are a few others, ESPN I think, have all come out and said as far as it's looking like he's leaving. And I think ESPN went as far as to say a source has told ESPN he is leaving Arsenal.
Yeah.
And there was another list of players. I think like Charles Watson an article, and there was a list of players, Trossard, Saka, Saliba, who were in contract talks, and he left out Thomas. Yeah, Miles. And he left out Thomas Partey.
Yeah, I saw that.
So all the clues are pointing towards he's actually not going to sign.
Yeah.
What do we do? How do we replace Thomas Partey in the squad? Because it can't go unaddressed, can it?
Yeah, no. I personally think we now need to get somebody. I think we need 3 DMs. We know what it was like with Thomas Partey before we had Declan Rice and Jorginho, where it was like just to depend on one person and having to put in like El Neni.
Yeah, Lokonga did a job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, we can't go back to that. That, to me, your DM is one of the most important. They control the whole flow of the game. If you don't have a proper DM, do you know what I mean? Look at Man City this season. They lost their best player, who was a DM, completely fell apart everywhere else. So we actually now, it's unfortunate because we're now going to have to spend money on that area where we could have maybe saved ourselves for summer and said, right, we just keep you for a year. Then next year you can maybe go on a free and we'll get somebody else a bit younger when we've got the cash. Yeah. But we need somebody desperately. Like, that's how I see it.
I think we need to add a player. I just don't necessarily think it needs to be a Partey replacement, but I hear your point about the amount of DMs. Where are you with it, Turkish? Partey leaves, who comes in? Not maybe name-wise, but the actual player you want to see. Type of player.
It's gone Man City. Gone Man City already.
Reinders.
Shirky.
Oh, yeah.
Not like for like replacement, but I'm kind of with you in that Rice and Zubimendi can cover the 6 role between them, and then Rice and Marino or Rice and Odegaard can cover the 8 role, and then Odegaard and Shirky can cover the 10 role. So I would have mixed it up a little bit, right?
That's what I want to do.
But pussyfooting around leads us to this. That's the reality. How have we left it to this now that, okay, 1 minute we're saying Zubimendi comes in and we've upgraded that position. Yeah. If Partey don't sign, then we haven't. Now, he's asking for more than 200k. I'll tell you now, he's not worth more than 200k, right? But we've backed ourselves into a corner with our wage structure. It was Jesus who's making more than him, 250. He hasn't been as important as him for years, since the first 6 months. And even then you could argue Partey was important that 6 months as well.
Yeah.
And Havertz. So I told people 2 years ago this contract's going to haunt us. It's not necessarily the quality of player, even though I think he isn't good enough. The contracts we handed out then to Jesus and Havertz, they've come back to us now because it's going to be hard to keep everyone pleased financially. Now we've got Gabriel wrapped up, nice. sweet, because that surprised me that he was the first of the big three with Saliba and Saka. But at the end of the day, things like Partey, it's going to cost us because we probably won't adequately replace.
Yeah.
And then we're just one injury away from it all unfolding again. So it's not great, on top of no incomings already. We're seemingly weakening in a position all of a sudden. It's not great.
I wholeheartedly agree on the contract stuff, guys. I've got to say, it's not. People need to know I don't live my life wishing Kai Havertz was making less money. I really don't. I live my life wanting him to be the best possible Arsenal player can be, along with everyone else who pulls on the shirt. But the problem with the wage structure and the money we handed out for a player that he doesn't solve the 8, he doesn't solve the striker problem, is that it set a precedent. And Jesus is there too, and there are a few others. You mentioned Jesus, someone like Thomas Partey and others who are all negotiating these contracts. Apparently Lewis Skelly's got a bumper new deal, and deservedly so, by the way. Good on him. But there'll be a lot of players who have surpassed those above them in the kind of salary pecking order in terms of importance. And now Thomas Partey is going to say, well, but I'm better than him, and you play me more than him, and I'm needed more than him. That might be a problem when we're trying to negotiate deals for players coming in and the players we want to keep. And that, by the way, it's not just Havertz. People think we have an agenda with Havertz. It's Gabby Jesus too. It's quite a few players. And you look and you go, maybe Havertz was on a crazy salary. Was Jesus on crazy money at City?
No.
Zinchenko's the worst one.
Right?
I forgot it off the top of my head.
180 or something?
I forgot it off the top of my head, but he was earning next to nothing at
40
City,
or something.
and we just flipped it.
That is really strange.
We flipped it. But listen, Arteta made it work in the sense that these players helped get us to a level and expectation that we win things now. But the hindrance has come, and listen, 2 ACLs, Jesus has been unfortunate. There's no value there because he's injured. Both knees now done, right? So we have to, and Zinchenko with a year left, I think, on his contract, already out of favour over the last couple of seasons. His value's not sky high either. But we've got to move on because the wages, are on the cusp of getting out of control. Wirtz has come in, he's on 200k a week at Liverpool.
Yeah.
Do you get it? Like man like David Silva were getting 200k a week into their 30s at City. Yeah. Whereas I get we had to flex a little financially because we were out of the top 4, and to draw them in I get that, but we've also had to be proactive with the returns and the sales on them too, which we haven't. And now we are where we are. The players that would need contracts, there's a benchmark there, and the players that are coming in,
So with Partey, so my understanding of it was initially that he was seeking a 2-year deal and we were only prepared to offer him 1. Then it's emerged, what I'm seeing now is that it's a pay issue. So basically Arsenal are offering him a new deal on reduced terms. Now if you're Partey and his agent, the manager's been on the record as saying this has been Partey's best season, he's a very important player for us, blah, blah, blah. So you can understand that they will recoil if you then say to him, let's talk about a new contract, but you know what? As suppose you were getting A, now you're going to get B or B+. You can see why Partey and his agent are not having that. So that would appear to be at odds with what the views of the manager as a player, because he said, look, he's really important, he's had his best season for us, so why would you not at least keep him on that rate? They're looking to drop his rate is what I'm seeing.
No, I didn't think Arsenal were looking to pay him less.
I've seen an article that says he's on reduced terms.
I think they do want to try and get him down a bit, but I personally just feel like... This is an article I'm reading from in The Guardian. It said
in fairness, apart from this last season, he's had loads of injuries.
The guy's not
and we're
been
signing
around.
Zubimendi, so he's not going to be as depended on. So
he says he's been offered a deal on slightly reduced terms.
Okay, and
that's in The Guardian.
It's 1 year, and it's 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
personally, I hope he stays. Jorginho's gone. Okay, Partey's 32. We often hear this, wants to get over 30, blah, blah, blah. But for us to go out and get somebody to replace him, who's that going to be? How much is it going to cost? You might as well just keep him here at the club for at least another year. Then you can start to, because there are other positions that we need to address further up the pitch. Striker, left winger. I don't want that problem as well with a DM, if you don't need to have that problem.
This comment here from Jeffrey, though, it does slightly annoy me. It goes, typical Kai Havertz scapegoating. Who who's blaming Kai Havertz? We're talking about the wage structure. We're talking about the people who paid that money. We mentioned Jesus too. Not one of us in this last 31 minutes of being live has commented on Kai Havertz in terms of a recent performance or anything remotely personal. We're talking about the wage structure. It's not his fault. You know, go get your money. You do your thing. Live your life. I mean, from Kai Havertz's perspective, it's great. Good for him. But there is an imbalance in the wage structure. There is. And the only way to kind of almost get that balance in terms of players' importance, they're ranking the squad, is for the likes of Saka, Saliba, Gabriel, Lewis Skelly, Duran Timber, Ben White, and whoever else we sign, Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, to all be above him in terms of pay. That's a pretty big wage bill if we do that.
Impossible.
It is.
Impossible.
It is, completely. Got a super chat from Jay, says... Kenya got her outlook and her way of thinking from her mum's side. I see none of the Robbie Laurie delusion DNA. There we go.
No.
How do you feel about that?
Guys, I need a house to live in. That's my hope.
We missed our window of opportunity, and Liverpool are where we should have been. Liverpool are going for the exact players I wanted.
Yeah, I actually said...
Wirtz and Isak.
Yeah, I remember when we did Supporters Club, I said... Florian Wirtz. If we could get anyone, like, just because we wanted to, I'd love Florian Wirtz because I think he's fantastic. But I do think Liverpool, they're like, they have the what's the word? The opportunity, I guess, to do that. They don't really have the weight of, we need to go and get.
We're actually being played again, man.
Yeah, like they
feel it's starting to feel.
We're being
that
played
way.
again, man. Really, let's be honest here. Yeah, really, the conversation should be go and get Isak.
Mm-hmm.
No one's talking about Isak no more because they played the and us as fans and you know like to them we're customers and we're perfect customers because how can you go from Isak, right? And the narrative was if it's not Isak it has to be Gyökeres or Osimhen. That was the narrative, right? Not too long ago. If it's not Isak because 150 is unrealistic, which to be honest it's not, and partly us as well. 100 million on a DM. I'm sorry. A 20-goal year striker is worth 150, yeah? But, like, come on. And then we go from, if it's not Isak, it's Gyökeres or Osimhen to Gyökeres or Sesko to Sesko is the perfect fit. That's where we've landed. We've gone from the expectation and the standard being, bring Isak in, he's ready, to Sesko because he's the perfect fit. And that's on us as well because we're accepting it. Generally, we're accepting. I know what you're saying, but you get what I'm saying. Generally, there's no real like what the fuck is going on around here again? Do you get what I'm saying?
I don't know. I watched James and Graham's video the other day. They were quite made up.
Yeah, but they're talking about it because we've landed on it.
I watched all 35 minutes.
They're talking about it because we've landed on it. If they did that on Isak now, you'd get a heap of comments from Arsenal fans saying, be realistic, be realistic, be realistic. That's what we do. Realistic is going to sign Isak. Why can't we try it, unsettle him? Even if you don't get him this year, you might get him January or next year.
Yeah,
but we've landed on Sesko or Gyökeres, and really we're landing on Sesko in a 6-month swing. Isak to fucking Sesko. How? What other club accepts that? That's at the top end, the top echelon. And that's why we're not. That's why we are not. We're not there. We're not City, Liverpool. We're not what Chelsea used to be or United used to be or what we used to be before that. We're far from it. Landing on a kid that scored 13 Bundesliga goals after demanding Isak. And it's calm. We don't even talk about Isak no more. Liverpool are talking about Isak. Unrealistic, no? Okay, no, it's sickening. Every year is sickening.
We said yesterday on the live show where we had callers in, the fans saying join us every Wednesday. And we said it's the lack of... Listen, even some PR, even a PR bit.
Our PRs
do you know what I mean? Even just we tried for Wirtz, we tried for Isak. Do you know what I mean? At least you'd go, oh thanks. Like we're not even in the conversations. We don't even feel like we're a part of these. And that goes back to Shirky. That goes to so many players. I think why are we not dining at the table with the clubs that are going? Now I get it because Liverpool won the last title, City won the 4 before that. Before that it was Liverpool again. I understand, but the money's there. The size of football club is there. Okay, but the only thing they can point to is that trophy. And I understand it carries a lot of weight. But come on, there's to at least be a part of the conversation. I've seen clubs that haven't achieved things go and get big players. Newcastle beat us to Bruno Guimaraes and Isak. Like, why are we not? What,
We're not serious.
Ch-
That's what it is. We're not serious, bro. The owners are not serious. They can put whatever face. You think I was joking when I said Whitney Kroenke will be the next one, and we'll lap that one up? Because that's all Stan did. My reputation's ruined here. I've come out of a quote that said I didn't buy Arsenal to win. We all know that quote about 10, 12 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So here you go, Josh. And then he smiles and says, be excited. And that reputation is going to go soon, and then they're left with the sister. I think he's got a sister, and she's the next one that will carry the flame for 6-7 years, and we'll say it's not Stan, it's not Josh, it's Whitney now.
So the name actually Whitney.
I think so. I shouldn't know this much about the family. I shouldn't know, but they make me sick. Real talk, they make me sick.
Got a super chat from HW. Let's bring it back to Partey. He says Partey leaving is a good opportunity, in my opinion, gives us the leeway to sign a 6. Who is less error prone, he says, with better dribbling like Kamara from Monaco, or it means more games at 6 for Rice and equals signing a creative 8, which that is the solution I would like for us to add, a more creative type of midfielder, and then you get the balance. Joseph, I saw you in the comments of the live show last night. He says, James, you're going to move the goalposts in about 3 weeks. Joseph, we got the live fan zone, man. Download the app, AFTV Plus app. Come and join us, and we can have a good old debate about it all on fan zone every Wednesday, 7 p.m. That's for all of you. Come and join us. Got more super chats coming in. Nico says, already feels like a third place finish. Manage your expectations, people. Lee says, why Sesko an Arsenal target and more fans are accepting? Too many big Arsenal outlets making Sesko seem the player we need. But when stats come up, Gyökeres slaughters him. Then stats don't matter. On that, having quite literally done the stats around both, Gyökeres batters Sesko statistically on pure goals.
Yeah.
If that's what we need, fine. I'm not saying that's not what we need. In every other metric, Sesko is the more impressive footballer.
But what do we need?
Goals.
Yeah.
I understand.
That's why I say to
but the
people,
idea that there's like no debate for Sesko, I don't agree with. I think there's a good debate. The problem is that I fear that Sesko isn't ready now. That's kind of my biggest gripe with him. It's actually less the goals.
Yeah, but it's not a good debate if we're talking goals, though, which is what you've admitted we need, right?
Yes, yeah.
So then that's it. That's story over, because everything else off the back of it is making a justification for why we are moving away what we know we need, goals, to him. And that's where, for me, the conversation shouldn't go to, because it's like, we need goals. And again, Osherman's name it rarely comes up.
It should be coming up, by the way.
Of course, it should be coming up.
I agree with you. Osherman, for me, is that in between. He's got the Gyökeres numbers, experience, proven in multiple leagues, but
works hard off the ball.
His all-round game is very. I
think the club will put off Osman as well by his wage demands.
I'm sorry.
I mean, at what point do we?
I don't believe any of that nonsense, because if we can pay 275 for Havertz and 250 for Jesus, then
no, I mean, in terms of their wage structure,
we've got money to waste.
What I heard was that the wage structure they're not prepared to break.
What wage structure? There ain't no structure no more. The structure's gone. It's a
we got to renew Saka. We got to renew Saliba. Do you know what I mean? We've got. We got Miles Lewis-Skelly. We're about to make him one of the most highest paid 18.
No, but what I'm saying, common understanding would suggest that Havertz on 260, is it?
Yeah, 260
was the highest. So if you bring in someone like Osman who wanted about 300 or something like that,
fine.
Then but then you got to bump up everybody else's there as well.
No, not really. You need to reorganise this pay structure, right?
Declan Rice's agent.
You could bring in Osherman this year on 300k, right? And Sesko this year on 140k, and in a year you get rid of Jesus and Havertz, and you're better.
Now, what I'm saying, what do you do with some of the other senior players like Declan Rice, Odegaard, man like that, Saka, people like that? They're not gonna see Osman walk in on 300 and just have their rate there.
I think they would if he's the answer. Yeah. If he comes in, works hard, part of the squad, bangs a load of goals, wins trophies. I think that's about right. The 250 to 300 grand area. Any striker that's coming in and their job is to lead Arsenal to the title, I think that's almost exactly what they should be paid.
Yeah, that's what we think. I'm saying with the club, though, they've made it clear.
But the club have fucked about the wage front as it is. Anyway. I kind of wouldn't even respect their opinion on it. I'd be like, listen, you. But with Osimhen, it's like, why are others not? What's going on? Real Madrid arguably need a 9. Arguably, Chelsea were really linked. They're not doing that deal. Barcelona might need one. Man United are looking for a more experienced one. Liverpool need a 9. Arsenal. Why is Osimhen not being linked to these moves?
I feel like out of all those clubs you named them, only us and Liverpool could afford to pay him. Barcelona couldn't pay him. Chelsea don't want to break their wage structure. I think their highest earner is Raheem Sterling, who they're going to get rid of.
Okay,
Do you know what I mean? Who else did you mention? Real Madrid.
There is one country
Real Madrid
that can
have got
afford his
Mbappe,
wages.
and they've got the likes of Endrick. They want to get a different type of striker.
Yeah.
Like, Barcelona about to get Nico Williams. They're probably thinking, right, can we really afford someone at Osimhen who would actually make them much better? But
you talked about Isak being a conversation we moved on from. Osimhen was the one we moved on from too quickly. I think with Isak, I can understand the size of club Newcastle are, the ownership and the investment they're going to get. Champions League football, just won a trophy. I can understand why that feels a touch out of reach. If Liverpool do it, I'll be fucking furious. But I can understand why Arsenal maybe, if he ultimately doesn't move, you'll say fair, we didn't waste our time. I don't really know why the Osimhen thing's moved on so quickly. He's what, £75-80 million deal to do?
yeah, I believe so. I think it might be cheaper.
So there's something I don't. That's weird. I don't really know why not.
I think he ends up in Saudi.
Yeah, or Galatasaray pushing, I guess, to
Yeah.
get him.
Maval with the super chat says Isak was plan A, Gyökeres was B, we jumped to C. VM says Kroenke bought Rice to shut us up, and now we've reverted to type. They know that Arsenal fans will never organise to protest them. Alvin says, to be honest, if everything is like this now, just sign both Gyökeres and Sesko, then Lookman at the side. Lookman is underlooked, man. Okay. He says, I also thought before the season's end that Arsenal said to splash money in the summer, but it seems like it's Liverpool doing it. Yeah, suppose it's Liverpool with the big old transfer war chest. Mohammed says that Osimhen's release causes €75 million. So what's that, £62 million?
Yeah, maybe something like that.
So I don't really know what's going on there. I just want to, guys, before we round off the show, I want to go back to this Partey stuff quickly. And in terms of just understanding how we're going to solve this. Hands up. Okay, you're going to give you two options. Assume he's leaving. We'll go for the wide angle shot here, production. Are we... Hands up if you want a 6 to replace Thomas Partey. 3, 2, 1, hands up. Wow, okay. Hands up if you want a 8, creative 8 type player or a 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Laurie wants
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, fine. Interesting.
I just
Interesting.
I just don't want to spend more money on a DM. But like,
neither do I. I'm so sick of
I
it.
just see it as right. For me, last season midfield was pretty calm, defense calm because we had depth. I care about attackers. I don't give a shit about DMs. I don't care about flipping defensive players. I've seen the last 3 windows. We're getting in flipping defenders. Go and get me a striker. Go and get me a winger, and then you can talk to me about getting in some kid from France. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's focus on the problem areas first. Do you know what I mean? We're sat here, we're watching our rivals spend 100 breaking records. Do you know what I mean? I've watched Man City go and get Ryan Cherky for dirt cheap.
Did you see their squad for that Club World Cup
It's
match?
incredible.
Did you see City's squad?
No.
It's incredible. Do you know
I'm gonna run
what
through
made
that.
me laugh the most is Pep even called Nico Gonzalez Nico Williams. He doesn't even remember all the players he's got. I'm looking at us and I'm like, yo, our squad depth is at the moment like Reece Nelson and that.
No, I have to go through this, guys.
That's
Just
so
so you know,
poor.
just so you know, the squad they're working with. This is their 11 for their first Club World Cup game. Edison in goal. Lewis, Reece, Ake and O'Reilly as their back four. Reinders, Foden and Cherky in midfield. Savinho, Doku and Marmoush, right? Bloody good team. Reece was a signing from the summer. Their bench: Haaland, Rodri, Gundogan, Nunes, Bob, Diaz, Stones, Nico, Ortega, Bernardo Silva, Ait Nouri, Gvardiol, Akanji, Echeverry and Kusanov.
Yeah. Wild. What have we got?
That was
Probably
a bench of about
7
15
left-backs,
players, maybe
yeah.
12 maybe. What? What?
Yeah,
I've never seen a squad that stacked in my life.
it's such
In
a
my
good squad.
life, I've
You
never
think
seen
about-
one that stacked.
You think about the Liverpool squad, right? They're probably going to get rid of Darwin Núñez, but they've got Luis Diaz, they've got Cody Gakpo, they've got Chiesa, they've just brought in Florian Wirtz. They've got all these incredible forward players. So God forbid something happens to someone, it's like, right, Cody Gakpo, I know I can rely on you to score in each game, as he did last season. Who else other than Saka do we have to say that for in our front line? Literally nobody.
Yeah, I hear it.
So for me, if you try and keep Thomas Partey for that year, if you can, go and spend that money on something else. We have more important things to do. We've got bigger fish to fry almost.
I'm
Don't
also a
focus
big
on that.
believer, Kenya, in it's not as simple as last season's game model with a bit more squad depth and a couple better players and everything sorted.
Yeah.
Arsenal football will evolve again. What Arsenal did well last season, which wasn't a lot, but what we did well, teams will learn from. So we need to evolve one more time. So how great would it be if we could go into games and you don't know if Arsenal are going to go Zubimendi, Rice, Ødegaard. That's expected. Or it could be Rice, because he's a monster at eating up space and defending and protecting a back line, with Ødegaard and Rodgers pushed higher up.
Yeah.
Or you know what, Waneri's been looking great. We go Waneri, Rice and Marino for this game. Like what? Like
So
wouldn't it be
limited.
great to throw different questions?
We're so limited.
I have no idea if it's going to be Curtis Jones starting next season. I don't know if it's going to be Wirtz or Szoboszlai. Probably Wirtz, but in what position? In the middle or on the left as a flat 3 or in the 10? With Man City, is Bernardo on the right or is he central? Foden, left, false 9, right, central midfield from the right, from the 8, whatever it is, they mix things up so often. And the one thing about Arsenal is, every now and again Arteta drops something, like he'll play Jorginho left 8 against Liverpool and you go, wow, this was great, I love this. Every now and again Calafiori bomb on the outside, you go, wow, I like this. But it's so rare that we actually mix things up. And I want a different type of midfielder coming into Partey, because I think it's time we actually evolve what we do with that position, what we do with that makeup, and it's not just different players, it's about options. And teams going, we don't know what Arsenal are going to do to us this weekend, and we need to be ready for everything.
I just personally think the market right now is loaded with talent. There is no excuses to say, there's no excuses come end of the window to say, oh, we didn't get the guy we wanted, because there's about 7 strikers out there. There's about 7 wingers out there. There's so many midfielders out there.
There's more 10s than I can count for a long time.
I'm looking at this market like, wow, this is the first time in quite a long time that there's so many options out there. It's like heaven. You're in a shop. Go and have a look at it and sort it out. I don't want to be coming back here at the start of the season saying we didn't address this, or we're going into another season knowing that we have to depend on Martinelli when we know he's not going to be of the same heights as he was previously in the 2022-23 season. Go and just get it right. I just feel like there's no excuses. There's too much good choice.
Taking the piss.
Why is Liverpool and Man City and Barcelona and all these clubs getting it right, but we're sat here twiddling our thumbs saying, oh, I'm not too sure about this guy. I'm not too sure, but yeah, his XG in it. So I don't give a shit about XG. Go and get me someone that bangs goals. Simple.
I do feel that while I've actually been defending the club more in terms of the pace at which we're moving in the window, that's just my take on it. I do think the Partey thing, that has gone this long, that we don't have a resolution, and we may have to spend significant money to replace him. That is really shocking in terms of squad planning for the summer. So I'm disappointed on that. Couple super chats to round things off. Dylan says Stan Kroenke is worth 18 billion, and we the fans are debating wages. Supporting this club feels embarrassing at times like this. Jayton says we're no longer an elite club, haven't been for years. We have the number 14 and 10 free brackets legendary jerseys for world class players, but let's go for potential. Some people call me Morris, what a name. Says I'll eat Turkish's hat if Rodrigo signs. I hope you've got plenty of hats.
I'll have a few.
HW says Osman turned down 30 million euros per year from Al Hilal. That's north of 450 grand per week.
Yeah, but that's Al Hilal.
What if that's not the move you wanted to make, though?
He wants to stay in Europe.
He wants to stay in Europe, but also, if you're going to Saudi right now, why not try your hand at trying to get in a big contract? Because they're giving them out.
Guy called James Bond in the chat says I should look at Oyan Sanset. I actually did a video on him. I saw it. A good player. Michael says at this moment in time, bigger fish to fry is my favourite football saying. Love for the love.
I'm dead.
There we go. All right. Any final thoughts, guys? Partey, Madueke, all that. Any final thoughts?
No to Madueke.
Another week with no signings. We remain optimistic, but
is it? Am I being really annoying by saying Kepa and Zubimendi are basically done? We can kind of they are done.
Who cares about Kepa though, man?
I know, but we needed a backup keeper. At least it's kind of we're getting on with our lives.
I think to be fair, I think the Kepa thing's quite an astute piece of business.
Yeah, but it's not worth.
But then that is to echo what Turkish is saying. Presumably, is that that is not the
it's not our main problem.
Overriding issue here. Is it? We all know what it is. You know
I think as well the fact that we've not really sold anyone as well. Like we don't even know what's happening with. I know Fabio Vieira's out at Porto, so I understand. But Reece Nelson, what's happening there? Zinchenko, we're hearing about AC Milan, but like, are we actually trying to push that? Do you know what I mean? I feel like there's actually a few players that we could cash in on, and we're just kind of like almost just sat back, very like, I don't know, sort of like we're trying to earn something from this window. It's kind of like, oh yeah, we're monitoring this person, we like this person, like that person. Like, there's nothing. I understand why people are so frustrated and annoyed, because there's nothing really to be happy about. Like, you see about Liverpool fans, although they have signed Florian Wirtz now, they had something to smile about, because it was like, right, we're in for Florian Wirtz. We don't know if we're going to get him, but let's just try. And they actually got him in the end.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Just...
Okay, everyone, we'll leave it there. There'll obviously be transfer daily every morning, so look out for that. This show is every single week, but you guys get your chance as well. I see some of you, Farhan reminded me that I wanted Buendia once upon a time 5 years ago, and Joseph as well, calling me out some stuff. Guys, come have a chat. We're live Wednesday, 7 p.m. It's very easy to join, and we can have debates, and anyone who just wants to chat and give their thoughts. Some really good callers yesterday. It's good to debate this stuff. It's early in the window, so a lot of it's speculative. Soon, we hope, there'll be actual news to react to. To remind everyone, Matt Law has said that Madueke is one player that Arsenal have looked at, and we are one club that have kept an eye on him. But let's see, I'm always sceptical when certain people get particular information. Thomas Partey looks set to leave unless there's kind of a dramatic turnaround. Supposedly Arsenal are offering him maybe even reduced terms with 1 year extension. He wants apparently better terms with a 2-year extension. Let's see what happens there. Zubimendi, we didn't touch on it, it's nothing really to say, but Arsenal are apparently paying more than the release clause so they can pay it in instalments, which maybe gives us more flexibility for this window, but let's actually see what that flexibility is for. Big thanks to Turkish, Kenya and Laurie. We'll be back here on AFTV tomorrow, so go check us out with all the content coming this week and throughout the weekend. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it, subscribe, and we'll see you very soon.